So hi, welcome again to the course, part 2 of the course How to Introduce Literacy by Following Your Child Uniqueness with the Montessori methods. So the agenda is, again, I'm going to do a very brief introduction about myself for those who didn't attend part 1. Then I will go on a few key points again on that are important as educators to consider when teaching children. And I'm going to do like a very brief recap about part 1 and that is necessary for this second part. Then I will finally go through the formal introduction to literacy. I will talk about phonics. And then Sandpaper Letters. I will explain this technique. This is called the 3-period lesson to learn names, words of any kind. Then we will talk about writing the words, the large movable alphabet. I will conclude, and then I will take just really like a minute of your time to talk about this program, starting the journey. And finally, we will have a Q&A session where you can ask all your questions. If you have any questions throughout the slides, write them down in the chat, and then I will either consider them straight away or maybe at the end, depends on how it goes or what kind of question it is. So I will, if you can please all mute your microphones just to keep the background noise to the minimum, and we can start. Again, here, I'm not going to repeat again what I said in part 1, but I am Cristina Tumino. I'm a holistic educator and a qualified Montessori teacher. I'm qualified in pedagogy. That means in teaching children from birth to 7-8 years old. And I'm very passionate about children, teaching, and as well self-discovery, because I believe that is so important, is a key to live a meaningful life. I don't know, I believe like there were one unique piece of a jigsaw puzzle, like a big, huge, divine jigsaw puzzle. And when we understand the shape, the shape of this unique piece, and what should be the position in the bigger picture, that is what makes everything magical and it makes sense. So what I do is actually to help parents and children to understand what makes that little shape unique and how to slot it into the big jigsaw puzzle. And in the same way, we will be raising happy and fulfilled children, and will find magic in parenting. This is important. I'm going to repeat myself on this because this is very, very important. As educators, we should always bear in mind, one, that nobody is superior, nobody is inferior, but nobody is equal either. People are simply unique, incomparable. You are you and I am I. This is a quote from Osho, and this is to say that our children are unique, we are unique, and that means that we need to adapt our teaching to each child and to each individual, and that we need to be able to as well accept them as they are, and consider that we all have different paces and ways of learning, as the person who's teaching and the child. Then we learn with our whole selves. That means that we don't just learn with our mind, but we learn as well physically while we do things. We learn emotionally with our emotions. We learn mentally and spiritually as well. And another important quote from Socrates: I cannot teach anybody anything, I can only make them think. And this is very important because we learn only when we are ready and when we're interested in something. And I think we need to learn as parents as well to understand that children have an inner kind of wisdom, and that knows how to guide them. So our duty is more to be there and guide sometimes, but let them learn when they are ready, and when they're interested, because that's even us, when we're very interested into something, we are actively learning and engaged. And the same is for our children. So there's no point to be pushing on things. And the last one is that the whole aim of this is for the child to become independent and responsible. Because when the child learns how to do things on his or her own and responsible for their own learning, that's when we know we did a great job, because that's the whole point. So what we did at a small recap in the part 1, we talk about the indirect preparation and the skills that are required in order to be able to write, because we, according to Maria Montessori, we learned how to write first, and we did discuss about this. And in order to do that, we need to train the body, like the tripod grip, and learn how to have control of the wrist, etc. As well, we need to train the mind. So that means we need to be able to concentrate, we need to be able to discriminate with our auditory sense, with our sight, we need to work on memory, etc. And there needs to be a coordination, a good coordination in between the mind and the body and the hand. In this case, the child needs to have interest in writing and good self-esteem. Then we have the this is so important for these activities we're going to talk about now, that we need to have a prepared environment, so the shelves with activities available for children to use, because we need to allow freedom for them to repeat when they feel to, and to have access to these activities when they want, and put them back and be responsible. And the cycle of activity that is as well, in order to give those boundaries and expectations for the child and for yourself as well. So then they learn how to be responsible and as well be independent. Then we talked about the activities of everyday living. That means learning how to, all the activities that support those physical skills that we were talking about, and mind and mental skills too. And we talk as well about discrimination, how to support the child to discriminate with sounds, and I gave as well a bit of activities there. So this I recommend anyway to go and look at part 1, because it's important. But here I'm going to now finally talk about the formal introduction to literacy. Progression of activities. As I said, Montessori considered writing in terms of 2 elements. One is that there is the motor mechanism when we actually write the letters. And so we need to educate the child to learn and control the movement that is required to write the symbols. And as well, we need to, and in that case, we will focus today on the sandpaper letters. I'm going to explain how they work. And the other aspect is the intellect. And in that sense, I'm going to talk about the large movable alphabet. And this is because, as we said before, we need that coordination between the hand and the mind and the intellect. And again, as I explained, that there is a progression of activities. So for children to fully understand every step that is necessary to learn a concept or develop a skill. So first of all, we need to start with what is phonics. Phonics, for those who don't know, is the correspondence between sound, that is the phoneme, the technical word, and the symbol, that's the grapheme. And normally they are represented conventionally between slashes. I'm not going to focus on that today at all, but it's just in case when you see those slashes, that means that we're talking about the sounds. In the English language, there is a mismatch and non-correspondence between sound and symbol. That's why it's a bit more kind of complicated. Like Latin languages are a bit easier in that respect, because in English we have an average of 44 sounds and 26 symbols, so it's almost double. And so we have many sounds for the same vowels, and we have as well some consonant digraphs. Digraphs is when you put 2 symbols together, like in the case of sh or ch or th. In that case, you have still 1 sound for 2 symbols together. So for instance, when we have the same letter A, but then you have in apple, you would read A for apple. And then in case of ball, you will still have A, but you will read as a O, ball. Or in cape, it will be more like A, cape. So that's why it's a bit, can be a bit complicated for a child to learn all this. So what we're going to focus on today is that when introducing phonics, we're going to work only with the vowel sounds that I'm going to show you below. And I will call it, just because it will be easier throughout the course, I'm going to call them prime sounds. And this will be A for apple. We're not going to say A or O or any other kind of sound. So it will be A, then it will be E like in egg, I like in igloo, O like in octopus rather than O, it will be O, and A as umbrella. So we do not use the names of the letters. We're never going to tell to the child A, E, I, O, like, you know, the sound, the songs they learn normally, like A, B, C, D. We're not going to teach that in this case, if we want to facilitate this kind of learning. I'm going to put down at the bottom of the YouTube, the recording, I'm going to put 2 links. One is for people to hear the sounds of all the letters, in case you're not sure if you are going to say, like, for instance, we say S, S, we don't say S, or what other sounds we're going to work with. And I'm going to put another link that is about singing as well, like Jolly Phonics, that they normally use as well in schools. So for children with like songs, start to associate that sound with the initial sound of each word. Although you do, I did talk about the I Spy game in the part 1. That is very important as well to do. Then, so the first activity is the sandpaper letters. This consists, is a box containing sandpaper lowercase letters from A to Z. It's important that we now focus on lowercase rather than capital letters or the cursive, like italic. Sorry, because that will be explained later. What we want now is for the child to learn, for instance, with the sandpaper letters, to develop the kinesthetic, that means the movement, the motor memory of the letters. So when you write the A, you do like that kind of movement. That's what we want them to learn, to develop this memory, to associate the sound to the symbol. So we are going to say A, and children will recognize A as that specific symbol, and to develop a visual impression, a memory of the letter shape. So they will, in their mind, they will know exactly how an A looks like. And we want them to learn as well the mechanism behind the writing. That's why we, at the moment, we just focus on lowercase only, even when they write their own name. In order to do that, to learn these sounds, we use what Maria Montessori called the 3-period lesson technique. And this is a technique that is used to teach new words. It can be any kind of new words, not just sounds for letters. It can be for numbers, it can be continents, names, it can be anything. And these new words are normally taught in 3 stages. That's why it's called 3-period lesson. So sometimes these stages can be introduced all at once. Although at the beginning, it's normally maybe 1 stage or 2 stages. And when the child is ready, you can introduce the 3rd stage. It's important to actually follow the technique exactly as it is. And the more, when you actually try and you do, you understand why, and it makes sense. In this case, we're going to select 2 or 3 maximum letters, so to don't overwhelm the child and give the opportunity to learn. And the first stage is just about introducing the word. So it will be this is, and then you have the letter in front of you, and with 1 finger. Montessori uses as well 2 fingers. At the end, it's up to you. If you want to do 1 or 2, you just feel the letter. So for instance, I'm going to have this letter here. So with your finger, you actually feel the letter and say the name, so of the sound. So you say S. So you finish to do the letter and you say S. what is important in this part is that you need to isolate the letter. So don't have anything else on the table, just one letter in front of the child. Then you have to feel the shape with your fingers and say the sound at the end. And then you have to repeat these actions 3 or 4 times. Of course, you say it once and you show first, always show first, and always maybe tell the child. Remember, at the beginning when you are at the shelf, as I said in the first part, you just start to say, oh, would you like to do some sandpaper letters with me? And the child say, yes. Okay, perfect. Where do you want to work? On the floor? Do you want to work on the table? The child takes it, put on the table, and then you say, I'm going to show you first, and then you will carry on. And then you start to show, and you start by saying, and then you say, do you want to try? And then the child will try, and then just try to repeat as many times as you can the sound. Oh, that is a, can you say, that is a, sometimes you can say maybe for snake, maybe, but focus only on the sound. Don't talk too much. These activities is to focus on the noun, on the names of the words. So then the second stage is more like a game kind of thing, where the child needs to familiarize with the word. In this case, you place all the letters in front of the child. I forgot to mention in the first stage, you have to do that for each letter. So you take, if you're working with 2 letters, you take first the letter, and then you put it away, and then you take the and then you say and then we'll do, and then put away, and then and put away. In this case, in the second stage, once you have repeated a few times the sounds, you will have the 3 letters in front of you. And in that case, you will start to ask questions to make it a bit more like kind of fun and interesting. So you will be asking like, oh, can you show me? And then it can show, or can you point at, can you, I don't know, put on your head, or can you trace with your finger? And they will do that. So the more you can repeat, the easier, the better it will be. If the child at this stage is able to identify the letters correctly, then you can try the third stage. If not, then just take a note in your mind and just practice again another time. It's okay. We don't we don't tell the child, oh no, that's not whatever letter, or you didn't get it. It's okay. Even when we're doing this game and they do like or and then actually when you say, can you point at, and they point at another letter, then you can say, oh, that's a good try. T is t, this one, and then you show. And yeah, and that's it. Then on the second stage, I actually then do another activity that I'm going to show you just after I explain the third stage, to help to remember as well the sound. But if the child didn't get it, then you just close by repeating what the child learns. This is good practice for any activity, to be honest. But you can say, oh, today we looked at and then you just show them. And then ask the child to put away if they don't want to work, or if they want to do more, it's fine, it's their choice. If when they're ready and they get it and they can recognize, identify correctly each letter and sound. Oh, I forgot to say, yeah, to just recap, as important thing is, so again, display 2 or 3 letters together in the second stage. You have to feel the shapes. You ask the child amongst all the questions to feel the shape with the fingers. Repeat actions 2, 3, 4 times, just to remember, and ask different questions. So while still repeating the sound, so it's a bit more engaging rather than saying the same thing. So the third period lesson instead, again, when the child can recognize these letters, the sounds correctly, then here is about remembering the word. So you will ask, what is this? And just point at one. And the child should say, I don't know. Then you ask for the other one, and then you ask for the other one. So you just ask once. So this is so important. We don't ask many times. We don't say the word. We ask to check and see if the child remembers the word. If they get it wrong, I mean, if it's wrong, don't highlight it. Just put in your mind and just say, oh, okay. So today we looked again, recap. we look at l, t, n, and that's it. And keep that in mind, and then you have to reconsider those letters, or the letter didn't get again during the first stage and the second stage. And as I said, yeah, recap. This kind of technique, as I said, can be used a bit in a kind of less strict way, if it makes sense. And when you're introducing any word, so it can be anywhere, like you're outside, I don't know, you see an animal or something, I don't know, you see a rhino, and then you start to say, oh, that is a rhino, look at the rhino, do you want to say rhino? And you just repeat a few times until then you say, oh, what is it that we saw today? Just to check if they remember the word. That's a technique to remember, and they do quite quickly. So that's a good thing as well with continents or anything. When we actually write the symbols, we normally start with from the top. So I just put here as an important note, if you're not sure, normally start at 1 o'clock, doing an anti-clockwise movement. So as you can see here in the letter A, it starts from the top, 1 o'clock, and then it goes down and up and then down again. So that's another movement as well. We do from the top to the bottom. So if we're doing B, we do up, down, and then, oh, well, it's easy. D, okay? You do it that way. So you go down and then you go up again and close. Well, if you're not sure, it's okay, as far as you're consistent with whatever you choose to do. So if you're doing the A in another way, then do it always in that way. So the child will learn that way. And normally I start with the letters of the child's name. So if my name is Christina, I would do K, H, and R. Or something that is similar. One can be like a circle and then another a T. Try to avoid to put together at the beginning letters and sounds like the B, P, D, these kind of sounds. And with the second stage, after we do like the kind of game thing, I normally take, can be a tea tray, we call it tea tray, and it's done with tea bags. So you just cut the little kind of sachets and put the content in there. You can put a bit of glitter if you want, or it can be sand. So for the child to try to form those letters in a playful way, just remind them to trace the letter first. So they have, for instance, the letter in front of them, as you can see in this first picture, the tea bags, and they trace it with the fingers, and then they go on the tea tray. It needs to be not too high, low, so they can use the wrist easily as well. And then try to do the circle. You draw it first, you show them how you do it. So do first the sandpaper letter, and then you go into the tea tray and you do it, and then they will do it as well. Remind them that in case, show more than reminding, in case there is, I don't know, any kind of spillages of tea out or sand, just show them how to keep it clean and tidy, and remind them to do so, and to put everything back when they finish. And what is important here is to don't force them. So if they don't want to do it, it's okay. There are other techniques. I can tell you some in a minute. And but we don't really want to ruin that kind of love for learning and interest and stuff. And use positive language as well. Try to not say, no, that's not right, or no, we don't do it that way, or these kinds of things. Just try to use, so if, for instance, if the child makes something wrong, you say, oh, that's a good attempt, and explain that the more they practice, the better they can get at things. You can say, for instance, that you did it yourself when you were little. You say, oh, I have to do so many times until I actually got it, and then now I can write it anytime. Remind them to trace the letter as well, because that feeling helps their memory and helps them how to do it. And again, if they don't feel the full letter, sometimes they just do this, like they don't do the full letter. It's okay, not a problem. Just show them how you do it. And when they will be ready, they will get it. And instead, if if they do something good, I like not to say, oh, well done all the time, because then they will not really we are not really valuing their learning. It needs to be more about praising them for what they actually did good, if they did good. So if they didn't really do a good A shape, I don't say, oh, well done. I just said, oh, that was a good attempt. I think we need to try a bit more. Or if they did something good, then I say, oh, wow, you see, I can do how you did a very good circle. That's a very good circle. We just need to work a bit on the line on the side. So say what exactly they did well, so you can really help them and guide them on what you are talking. And then if they know how to do these letters well and they start to get a bit better, or to alternate a bit, you can do what I call rainbow letters, and that's with on a black paper. Normally you can start to write the symbol, and then the child can do with different colors. They can carry on doing the same, trace the same letter and create a rainbow letter. Many children really like doing this. If a child, as I was saying, is not really interested in some letters, or like in letters in general, then what I normally do is consider what are their interests. So if, for instance, a child is very interested in, I don't know, animals or dinosaurs or something specific, I can start to talk. If we're talking about dinosaurs, I start to say like, oh, we take the dinosaurs and a T-Rex or any kind of model you have, and just maybe walking on the on the tea bag tray, on the tea tray, on the sand tray, and then you just start to say, oh, I am a T-Rex. T-Rex. I'm going to write. So you write the T in front of the T-Rex, and you say, this is the T for T-Rex, and then you have the T-Rex. And that will be a bit more engaging for them, and they will do. It normally, I mean, so far it always worked, although they normally are attracted by these things. But if not, you can ask me anytime. I'm more than happy to help. If you have any questions, as I said at the beginning, please feel free to write a comment in the chat, and then I can either reply straight away or at the end of the session, depends on the kind of question. In terms of where to buy these Sandpaper letters, well, you can buy them anyway online. You can look for it. They are quite expensive. They're a great tool anyway to work with. You can do them yourselves and with almost no cost. So as you can see, there are you can do it like a print the letters, and then use glue and put some sand and let it dry, and then cut them, and then maybe stick it to a bit thicker paper, and then you have all the letters. Maybe if you can stick it to letters to like pink and blue, that will help a lot, because you will see later why. As well, some people actually cut, because these you can feel is like proper like sandpaper. So some people can cut the letters on sandpaper, like very thin grain, and you can then stick it to a cardboard. Another option are like these ones. They are, you can feel them. I don't know if you can see, you can still feel them. And there's like a red dot on when to start, and green where to start, and red where to finish. Although it has some numbers, so I'm not sure if Montessori would really agree with this, but I think they're quite good as well. And another option is this letterwork book that I don't really like to use at the beginning when we're introducing it, because it's a book, so the letters are attached to the book. So you cannot really do the 3-period lesson, but this will be very useful like very soon when you will start to introduce the large movable alphabet. So I like to keep this in case for them to do their own learning independently, and I will show you how. And it's quite cheap, it's like £6-7. And what else? Yeah, more or less you can look for other alternatives. Those are the ones that I know in terms of making your own Sandpaper letters. I'm not, no, I think That's it at the moment, yeah. So then the next one that is more about the using the mind, this is more about the physical body and this kinesthetic, developing this kinesthetic skill, this motor skill and impressions of the letters, the symbols. Then we will be working with the large movable alphabet. One, the child is a bit more able to know more of the letters with the sandpaper letters. So when he knows a good number of sandpaper letters of sounds, then we can start to introduce the large movable alphabet, also called LMA. What is it? So it's a box containing, again, lowercase sandpaper letters. No, sorry, not sandpaper letters. Oh, I made a mistake, I just noticed. So it's a box containing these lowercase letters, is wooden letters, they're just normal wooden letters. And the aim with this activity is to word build without the physical act of writing. So they're not going to write because we're still working and developing that side. With all the activities of everyday living I talk about in the first part, and as well to facilitate the transition from the sandpaper letters into proper building, like CVC words. So here what we do, we're just introducing the letters, we're not blending sounds yet, or building CVC words, again, consonant, vowel, consonant, like cat. And one important thing to notice here is that there are two colors. There is blue for vowels and pink for consonants. Sometimes they are red. And this is actually a good way of for the child to have control of error and fix their own mistakes while they're writing independently without us telling them when it's wrong and when it's not. And it will help as well to distinguish vowels from consonants. So what do? We do first the first presentation that is more or less, you just start with the child again, go to the shelf and say, oh, would you like to work with the large movable alphabet? And they say, yes. I say, okay, where would you like to work? Normally you work on the floor. So if you wish to have a mat that's quite big, so the child can work on that area that shows the area of the working area. Or you can do it straight on the floor, on the carpets, wherever it is easier. Because that's why you have more space, more room. So what you need is work with the letters, ask the child to choose 3 letters that he likes or she likes, but he's familiar with, and then ask the child to, again, support always the child independence. So ask the child, oh, why don't you take the mat and unfold it? What do you want to see? You choose where you want to work, unfold it, and then we need this box, and now do you want to choose 3 letters? And the child chooses the letters and put it on the mat. You show where. It's always good to show where you want them to put them, so then they know what are your expectations. Otherwise they could randomly put them, really you don't know where they can put it. And then open the box. If the box is a bit big, we have very big ones, so we just show the first time how to do it, and then they know how to do it for the rest, for the other presentations. Then what do you do here? You just prepare the materials. You point at one letter and then ask, do you remember the sound of this one? And you say, s, s, s. Okay. So then can you find the s letter inside the box? So the child will go and look, and then when you find it, you ask, do you mind, can you put it just under the sandpaper letter? And you show where, and you will put it there. And then say the same with the other letter and the same with the third letter. This is more to kind of start to associate, and as I say, a transition to the large movable alphabet. As well here, if you want, you can start to use sounds. You can, I mean, the child should now be able to recognize the initial sounds. If you did work with the I Spy game and the phonics, so the Jolly phonics songs, and you've been doing anyway all these other sandpaper letters before with a 3-period lesson. So the child should start now to be able to recognize that S is for snake and T can be for, I don't know, towel, etc. Here, what is important is, again, let the child unfold the mat and do all the things, and you can show first things that he doesn't know, and then so he can do it himself. Choose the letters the child is familiar with, and tell the child you will show the activity first, and remind the child to put the choosing away always. I mean, at this stage, they should be able to do it themselves if they've been working a lot with activities of everyday living and the sandpaper letters. So here is, again, it's not about blending sounds. It's just about finding the letters with the large movable alphabet and become familiar with that. It's very good to do, again, a lot of I Spy games and these Jolly Phonics. And maybe you can even say, oh, can you find objects in the house with, they start with, and maybe we can put the letter next to the thing that you found. Can you, I don't know, find something and bring it here if it's not too big, like something like that can help as well. The second presentation is the, here you start a bit to show how to blend letters. So when the child can spontaneously associate the sounds to the graphemes, to the symbols, and know, again, most of them, you can start to choose the VC, the vowel consonant sounds at the end of a word. So for instance, in this case, I chose at. So you just take an at from the large movable alphabet. You don't need any more the sandpaper letters. And then you put it on, you can ask, oh, can you take the, can you take the, and you put it there. And then you say, oh, so this is at, and then you get to the conclusion that is at, and you repeat several times. And then you ask the child, can you choose a letter from the sound, from the from the box? So I don't know, of course, let's say that they choose K for cat. So they put the K and you ask, can you put the K in front of the A? And then you say, oh, K, at, K, at, K, at. Does it sound like something? K, at, cat. And they can say cat. Perfect. Can you take another, and then you put it back. Can you take another letter? You take another letter and you put it there. I don't know, it can be hat. So you say, and that is at, hat. At this stage, most probably they will not get that you are saying hat, and it's okay. They're learning, so don't worry about it. And then maybe they will take a letter that of something that doesn't exist. They can create something that is, I don't know, quat. You say, oh, does it mean something? And then you can even laugh about it. That's not a problem. The thing is about learning how to start to blend a bit and make it a bit more fun and explore different sounds. You might find beneficial at this stage to use a little mat with a fabric mat, and then you can draw a line, a straight line, and tell the child to put the letters on the line, and always start from the left. So the child starts to, like, he kind of facilitates the positioning of the letter, this line. Sorry, we don't use it, but I know of many Montessori teachers that do. So once the child is able to do some of these blendings and is quite good with initial, can recognize initial sounds, it's so important that he's already able to recognize his initial sounds and ending sounds, as I was explaining in part 1 with the phonics, with the I Spy game. Then you can start to explore these CVC words. So this is more an activity that is a bit more about pink boxes. There's a pink boxes is another sequence of like a progression of activities on introducing writing and reading. But these, I'm just going to do like a little kind of bit of these pink boxes. The first one, and it's like a transition between the large movable alphabet and the pink boxes. In this case, it's good to have a little basket, something where you put small objects. They love this. In this case, in that picture, I had a little pot, I had a little plastic box, and I had a rug. But you can put anything. If you have like a little animal, little cat, or anything that you can put in this little box. Possibly something they can touch, not images, they can touch. and you talk about these images. So you first talk, oh, can you take out from this little pot or box anything? Can you take the objects? And then you talk about the objects. Oh, what is this? Oh, this is a pot. So you need to make sure they know exactly what's the name, because we can have, for instance, that little rag, they can call it something else. They can call it mat, they can call it something else. So it's important that you both know what exactly is the word that the child needs to write. So, and then you start to say the word several times. So if the object, and you say, oh, which one do you want to work with first? And maybe they can say the rug. Perfect. So you said, what is the first sound that you can hear in r, a, g, r, a, g? And they will say r, r, r. Okay, they go and grab the r, and you say where to put the r next to the object. And you say, what's the sound in the middle? R, a, g, r, a, g. And they will, if they don't get the it's okay. If they get another letter, not a problem. And what's the last sound? R, a, g, r, a, g. And they say g, and they write. So as you see in this picture, the girl I was working with, instead of writing pot, wrote bot, because it's quite tricky to distinguish between the b, k, the b, the p, and the q, and all, and the d. So in this case, I didn't correct her. I left her doing it. I just repeated several times. I was saying p, o, t, p, o, t. So when we finished, we read the letters, and I was saying, oh, so we wrote here rag, rag, bot, bot. And she was like, no, that was pot. And I said, oh, so what's the letter b? P. And she was like, I don't know. And I said, why don't you take, and that's when I used this book. Why don't you take the book and see if you can find it? And because it has the pictures, they can recognize that the p or the b in this case is b for bus. So they can actually recognize, and they can correct themselves. We don't tell them. Actually, it's a big satisfaction for them when they manage to do it themselves. And if they still don't get it, no problem. Take a note in your mind, and you know you need to work again with the sandpaper letters, with those letters, with b and p. So carry on doing that with other things. It can be with other objects or anything, just for them. Do a 3-period lesson, do more tea tray until they get it. Sometimes I say the b is like there's a baby inside and they like it, and then they remember easily. But I mean, you can do any way. The key here is they need to be able to identify initial and ending sounds for sure first. You need to use and find objects that are CVC words with the prime vowel sounds, the one we talk at the beginning. So it can be like cat, cup, bed. You don't use things like car, because R is one sound, is not two. So even if it's 3 letters, B as well is 2 sounds, is B, E. Go is actually 3 sounds with 2 letters. Sun, the same. So make sure that is that sound. And if you're not sure, as I said, I'm going to put the link at the bottom. You can go and listen again and check. And you can ask me any questions anytime as well in the future when you're actually doing the activity. And I can help you, very happy to help. Another thing to consider is use small objects, because that brings more engagement, and they can play with it after, but the beginning when you're doing the activity, do it together. But then let them play with it. That's not a problem. Even when they're doing the sandpaper letters and using the tea bag, the tea tray, they start sometimes to just touch it and play. You just say, let's do this letter. Do you want to do the letter? Yes. You don't want to? Okay. Oh, why don't we draw a sun? And you start to do the circle and put the eyes and maybe in the mouth. So they start to do the shapes. It needs to be fun. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to do it. Otherwise, they will start not to want to do it and sit with you and work with you. And we don't want that. And again, don't correct directly, and take notes of the letters and sounds the child needs to work on, and then work with them differently in other occasions. Okay, then the last thing about this is where to buy them. Again, you can buy them. It's as well, they're quite expensive. Normally they are wooden letters, and you can find them in many places. However, there are very cheaper options available. One, I mean, there are other ones, as you can see, is they're like red and blue, and they can vary in prices from 50, I don't know, 70 pounds. But as well, I found these ones, they're like magnetic ones. This box in particular, it has capital and lowercase. I would take out the capital letters and keep just lowercase. And I would still use a mat. If you want, you can use like a magnetic board, but preferably keep it in that as an activity rather than using it, for instance, on a fridge or something, because that's the moment for the child to take, work with it, and put it back. Another thing as well you can buy, can be even cheaper. Sometimes in these art and craft shops, they sell these wooden letters, or like kind of cardboard letters. And they're like different ones, like different, like more than one set of A and B's and C's. And you can just maybe color the vowels with another color, so they can distinguish the vowels with the consonants. And I don't know, yeah, so you can just so they can distinguish, and that will be quite cheap. You can do it for even less than 10 pounds. Find them. Try to don't find it too small, just a bit bigger, so then it's easier for them to use. I forgot now, I'm remembering now, when you are starting to introduce them, where was it? Let me see. Here, when you're talking about doing the first letters, you can start to mention that the ones, one second, let me find it. It's just a bit slow. When you start to do these ones, the second presentation, you can say, oh, have you noticed that in the middle is blue and the other ones are pink or red? So the blue ones are called vowels, and they are always at the center. They're always in the middle. And the pink ones are called consonants. And you can say, do you want to say consonants? That's a consonant, and that's a vowel, and goes in the middle. It just came to my mind now. Yeah, that's just taking time to do the rest. So as I was saying, important when you buy them, don't use capital letters at this stage. Don't use the cursive one like italic, and keep 2 colors coding because it is important. And of course, more copies of each letter, because you will need sometimes more than one. And as a conclusion, I would like to conclude with another quote from Maria Montessori that says, we have to help the child to act, will, and think for himself, because that's the whole aim for them to become independent and in their learning. Before I go with the Q&A session, I just wanted to let you know that you can subscribe to my newsletter, so then you can know about upcoming events, or have some insights as well I share on my podcast, or any promotion or anything. They're not long, they're very short, and they're one every 2 weeks, and you can unsubscribe anytime. So, and the last thing is that I'm actually doing a current offer on this program that I call Starting the Journey program. Is a 9-session program where is a journey, of self-discovery, where I support parents and children to develop in their development as a whole. And it's a very personalized kind of guidance I give, where with the family, we can go see like how and what and why to focus on certain things according to your specific needs and struggles. And it consists, as I said, in a 9 sessions via Zoom. Then we will talk about, you will have an understanding of your life path numbers. I work a bit with numerology because that is a great way to understand your good and negative traits. You will have as well an understanding of the magical bodies. That means we will go through each body within, the physical body and how to support it, the emotional body and how to support it, the mental body. And I use as well a lot of the Montessori teachings and philosophy, and the spiritual body, but not in the sense of spiritual like religion, but in terms of deeper connection with your soul, with the wisdom you have within, and the positive and negative things to work on. And then there will be email support between the sessions where I can help you throughout this time and double check how things are going, etc. So the promotion is that for December, I'm offering to a family, as I did in the first part. For the second part, one family for the special price of £99 for 9 sessions instead of 390. And so if you are interested, or you know of any family who is interested, please email me or ask me questions. I'm happy to answer them. And then, so that's it. I hope you learned a lot, and you feel more confident as well in how to support your child in the physical and mental and emotional development in how to write, read and write.